As we saw in the film, Creative Quarters Coalition has been working for so many years to bring this project about. And can each of you please share what was your impression of the project when you first initially heard about it? And what made you buy in early on? Because I can tell you, when Mr. Rhodes put those maps out in front of me, I was like, oh, I'm from New York, okay? And I don't know if it was gonna happen. So what was your first indication or first impression about this? Because it was quite a feat, an undertaking when you look at it.
Absolutely. I guess I did have a little bit of a different story because I was involved in it all the way from the beginning, from the initial conception of the idea. I helped with the selection of the initial architects and design group and so on. So I guess I was sipping the Kool-Aid a little bit all the way along there. And so when it was finally the reveal came out, I drank enough Kool-Aid to know that this was going to happen, as Lee said. To me, and as I said in the video, many cities don't get a chance to reshape their front door, ever. And we had this opportunity, sort of a once in a generation, to create a new impression for everybody that comes into Winston-Salem, driving into Winston-Salem, to have this wonderful, positive, creative, artistic feel for our community that's our brand. So to me, it's something that just had to be done.
Scared me to death. Obviously, this was something, this project, the old business 40 corridor was something that was very important to us as a department because it had far exceeded its useful life. So we needed to do something, and I think I've told many folks that this was originally a pavement rehabilitation project. We were simply going to resurface it. And as we were sitting down thinking about, as Talitha mentioned earlier, the fact that this was really going to be our last opportunity to do something meaningful, and we as a department wanted to be part of that. So as we started thinking about it and was contacted by the folks with Creative Corridors, I'm thinking initially, some little bridge changes, little things like that. It'll look nice, and we're going to be excited about it. And out of the box is a very good way to put it. The more you get into it, the more excited we got. The biggest concern, quite frankly, I had at the very beginning was, how do you take the visual aspect of what these bridges and retaining walls needed to look like and transform that into engineering? Many times they don't meld very well, but we were able to take the designs that were provided to us and our design build team, and really, I think you'll agree, did a great job in putting that together. So looking back at this, the video here, which was amazing, seems like it was so long ago, but we are incredibly proud of that.
Well, as a native son, Lee French recruited me. I was minding my business down in Flywheel in the Innovation Quarter, and he had a space not far from me. And he noticed people come to me and talk to me about various things in the community. He said, Flynn, why don't take a few minutes, let's go out to lunch. That's always a catch. And he had these booklets, these huge things he was showing me about the Creative Corridors concept, only on paper. And he said, Flynn, you know some people in the community, why don't we team up? We'll make some cold calls. And one of the calls we made was at a material supply company. In fact, most of the roads she traveled on comes to this company. I won't name the company. But we made a presentation, and we learned from that presentation what not to do. But that was my initial investigation. But being a native son, I know what 52 did to this community. I grew up in East Winston. And so when I saw this concept crystallize, I said, we've got to do this. I've got to commit whatever space I have, energy I have to make this a reality. And I'm glad I did.
Well, Kristen Haff was part of Creative Corridors, and we were involved with Leadership Winston-Salem. I actually moved to the city after some of the decisions were made, and I think it's important always to think about the handoff. Many times that dream has to be shared and passed down, and Creative Corridors did a great job of sharing the inspiration of what happened to make this happen. And the beauty of it was I came and got involved right before the arches were put 52. And that momentum of seeing these things happen also enticed me for what would be the next projects that our city would undertake as part of the story of the City of Arts and Innovation.
Wonderful, thank you all for that. I want to go back to something that you mentioned, Fleming, just about one, being a native son and how it was able to, this project in particular was able to unify the community that has been historically so divided by transportation projects. And it's not a dig at anyone in particular, but it's a fact that there's certain things that have happened throughout the years. So what did you learn about our community throughout the process as we were literally looking to bridge our communities back together?
The biggest lesson was the spirit of cooperation. And it takes that to build anything successfully. And this group is very unique in that. All the big eyes were reduced to us. All the egos came down to we. And that was the motivation for most of us staying involved. And even though I was not there every day, I was there. Whatever influence I had, I did it. Sometimes behind the scenes. But to grow up in East Winston, at my grandfather's grocery store on First and Greenwood, to see that store come down because of what they call urban renewal, and to see 52 tear up the community. I used to fly my kites on the dirt roads before the evolved into 52. I'm just going back, I'm a young 71, so I've been around for a few days. But I remember specifically how that highway divided the city. And I said, wow, they didn't come ask me if I wanted this project in my neighborhood. They didn't ask my granddaddy. But now all of a sudden, this coalition was doing just that. They were asking communities first before they built the project. And that was the motivation for me to a great degree.
Great, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Pat.
Sure. All I was going to say is, following up on Fleming, is the fact that coming to Winston-Salem in 2000 from Rockingham County, so I didn't know a lot about the history of, particularly of roads in this area, but as we got into this, of course, saw more articles, did a lot more research in the road building, and the way Winston-Salem did things historically was very different from when you see or what you see in other urban areas. Winston-Salem sort of took the bull by the horns at the very beginning and actually began the process of designing, acquiring right-of-way, and ultimately turning it over to NCDOT to build the project. That's something certainly doesn't happen today, but really didn't happen in a lot of these cities in the past. So just learning about what this history was, and particularly what it did to a lot of these communities, both east, west, and north and south. So it was really an honor for us to be a part, the first part of being able to bridge and bring these communities back together.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. NCDOT did such a great job way down the road to entice and encourage communication and transparency on this project, all the way back to deciding, asking the community, how do you want us to build this? Do you want us to close one lane for 6 years, or do you want us to close 2 lanes for 2 years? And the community just overwhelmingly said, just rip that Band-Aid off and let's just close 2 lanes for 2 years and get it over. And this guy delivered it in 15 months. So I think that set the tone for how this project was going to happen. As creative quarters, as they began developing plans and involving huge numbers of the community in big meetings discussing how it would be built, I think that was really the success of it. I think everybody in our community, or most everyone, felt like they owned a little piece of it. They contributed money, and they feel like they own it. I tell people when I run for office, I don't care if somebody gives me $5 or $100. If they give me $5, they're going to probably vote for me because they feel like they got a little piece of me there. Same way with this. They donated $100 to one of these bridges. I got a little ownership in that bridge, so it's mine. So it worked so well, and I think we learned a lot from it, and we continue to do that, hopefully when we do 52.
And going off of what Pat was mentioning too, just about community and the instrumental way that Creative Quarters plays such a critical role, not prior to, but also in the conclusion of this. You could have, Pat was 15 months ahead and you could have said, okay, open the roadway, but you allowed everyone, Creative Quarters came together with the city to say, now walk on it, be a part of it. I have twins, and to this day, they're like, Mommy, this is the highway that we were walking on. Can we walk on it again? And the answer, of course, is no, but when they see the lights, you know, that Mr. Rhodes was talking about and how significant that is, it's a history-making moment full circle, and so I really love that. Pat, I do want to ask you specifically, this was a unique public and private partnership. So have you had other people in your field reach out to you? I know you touched a little bit on it, but in terms of reaching out to inquire about the involvement, the experience, because we are trendsetters here, in case you did not know, in the City of Arts and Innovation. But what specifically I want to hear, can you give us the inside scoop on like what have they been asking you along the way?
Well, the first opportunity for the state, if you will, to see this project was when Division 9 hosted the Board of Transportation in 2019 while the road was closed and under construction. So we're all on a bus, all 14 or 21 of our Board of Transportation members, and all 14 of my counterparts across the state had the ability to do a lengthy tour of the project, looking at different aspects of it, getting out, talking to the contractors, and hearing different presentations about this. So that really started that conversation. And obviously, once the project was completed, we gave a big presentation to the Board of Transportation, to a lot of oohs and ahs. And there, the really in-depth conversations began in terms of how did you do that? How can we do this in our community? How much time did it take? What was the investment that you as a division, as the department, had to put in place to make this occur? But most importantly, what I talked about was the fact that the department by no means could have done this on our own. This truly was, as has been mentioned before, was a partnership in many, many stakeholders coming together, ready to roll up their sleeves, sitting around the table or wherever it happened to be, and putting our preferences away and just sort of looking at the greater good about what can we do for a legacy. We talk about what the original Business 40 and 52, what kind of legacy that had. We had the ability to completely change that, and I believe that we did.
And to that point, you can see how powerful we are when we come together and set those differences aside. So I love that. Christy, this question specifically for you. Now that the project is completed and we can walk across the strollways and see the Green Street Bridge, and it rivals those in Brooklyn, New York, you know, where people have their own definition of strollways. We have the best one here, by the way. How do you see these projects benefiting the community going forward?
Yes, I see this complementing GAIN, which is green, artful, iconic networks. And the green, I don't know if you've noticed, but they've put in the plantings along the highway, beautiful trees and bushes that were just blossoming just a few weeks ago. So our city's becoming greener. The networks, as you've been able to see, our cycling and activities are growing. As we've been able to receive another grant for extending the walkway through to the north, I think you'll be able to see access increasing for walkability. Marshall Plaza just opened. Exciting to have walkability all the way from one of the northern parks through the strollway to the Peter Oliver Pavilion Gallery, which will be in place one day, through to Old Salem. We've really created a place where there are miles and miles of trails to be able to walk and enjoy as a community, which increases our ability to get to know one another and also exercise.